Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. In today's video of Joe Biden is the worst president in American history, we continue on with this new, beautiful narrative that not only are we right that Joe Biden is the worst president of the United States, but that now, even Democrats seem to agree. The honeymoon phase, or more accurately I'd say to describe this situation, the phase of delusion and copium is finally dissipating. And even Democrats are realizing the damage that Joe Biden is doing, that they are getting to the point where they are ready to throw him in the dumpster and walk away without even turning around to look back. Folks, Joe Biden is such an utter disgrace, such an utter disaster, that he might lead the Democrats to electoral irrelevance for a very, very long time. And panic is certainly starting to settle in. And folks, that panic is exactly what I'm going to update you guys on. Got a couple things to cover in this video. Of course, Democrats are getting ready to throw Joe Biden away. So we'll start off with that, and then we'll do what we usually do, going over all of the BS coming out of this administration every single day. Trust me, there's a whole lot of it. We've got some stuff to get into, but before we get into any of it, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible, and with that out of the way, let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so we covered the other day how Don Lemon asked Karine Jean-Pierre if Joe Biden has the stamina to really run for president again. This, of course, in response to even Democrats calling for him to step down in the next general election. And this whole idea of Joe Biden being replaced, well, it's really starting to ramp up in the news cycle. Here's a piece from MSNBC.
His ratings only going further down as the midterms approach. What's the latest reporting you guys have about how worried Democrats are that the Biden may be a drag on the party come November?
I mean, they're super duper worried, right? You don't want the president of your party sitting at 40% or slightly below 40%. You look at the numbers with independents, you swing voters, often around 30%, sometimes lower. That's terrible. Like, there's no other way to cut it, and Democrats know that.
Democrats are now super duper worried about Joe Biden's abysmal job approval. And now, of course, news outlets are jumping on this story. A news outlet asked every Democrat senator if they'll endorse Biden in 2024. Not many said yes. Democrats don't seem too excited about the prospect of Joe Biden running again in 2024. The Daily Caller recently asked every single Democrat serving in the Senate if they would endorse Biden for re-election in 2 years. They got a less than enthusiastic response. From the Daily Caller, we asked all 50 Democratic senators if they would endorse Biden in 2024. Only 5 of them said yes. 5. Honestly, before reading this article, I was expecting a whole lot more. I mean, for me, a bad number would have been like, I don't know, maybe 20, 25. Most Democrat senators are Democrat old-timers, part of that old Democrat establishment. And from my understanding, they absolutely love Joe. But only 5. 10%. Only 5 Democrat senators are willing to go on the record and endorse President Joe Biden for a second term. Disaster. I mean, I know I use the word a lot, but is there really any other way to describe this? What a joke. And it continues to be a complete and utter disaster. We're hearing more reports now of staffers fleeing the White House. Another top staffer leaves the Biden administration, and now White House counsel is departing next month. And the Democrat media seems to be having an awakening moment, except of course it's not an awakening moment. They're just finally admitting the truth that Joe Biden was not in a position cognitively to ever assume the role of president. Take a look at this little segment from CNN.
As David Axelrod says, and he's come out and put his name on it, he said, look, this is a person who, if they win, will be closer to 90 at the end of their second term than 80. And therefore, these are very fair questions. Joe Biden said these were fair questions the last time when he was running. So do you have these questions?
Well, I think everybody is looking very closely now. When Biden does well, he does really well. That gun speech he gave, he was perfect. It was powerful. When he does badly, when he stumbles, you get nervous and you wonder, is it just a stutter? Is he tired, or something else there? And so I think that people are just looking. I mean, honestly, I think a lot of Democrats are like, if this guy's ready to go, we're behind him. But if he's not ready to go, he should let us know. I think that's what's going on.
Is he tired or something else? Is Joe Biden tired? Tired. Yes, he's just tired, and he grew up with a speech impediment. The guy's brain doesn't work. How many times do I have to say this? Tired? Tired is okay. Maybe a couple times when you didn't get good sleep. 3 years of Joe Biden's inability to string together a coherent sentence is not tired. It's dementia. And of course, here we go again. It's freaking Groundhog Day. Here are all the Joe Biden gaffes from one single event just yesterday.
What this bill does is extend the authority something what the federal government calls, which requires our ocean which regulates our goods to goods to products that the American families, John Garamendi, for the Democrat from California, Congressman from California, Transportation Secretary Buttigieg, and by the way, my sympathies to the family of your CFO, who dropped dead very unexpectedly. My best to their family. It's tough stuff.
Oh, well, he must just be tired. And Joe Biden trying to give condolences to the family, saying that the individual just dropped dead. Could you imagine if Donald Trump said that? They would be calling him a psychopath, a sociopath, every name in the book. This guy is completely out of his mind. But really, outside of the fact that Joe Biden's brain is mush, it's really the issues. I mean, if the guy couldn't string a sentence together, but his policies were decent, I think most people would be able to accept it. But it's two things. It's the policy failures that are most frustrating to the American people, and it's just really the condescending, out-of-touch attitude as everything goes to crap. This White House just doesn't seem serious. Here's Joe Biden saying this.
And I've said many times, tackling inflation is my number one priority. Inflation, there's no solace as inflation is higher around the rest of the world and gas prices are higher everywhere else in the world. Doesn't matter.
Inflation is higher around the rest of the world, as if that somehow justifies anything. First of all, the United States inflation rate is one of the highest in the Western world. But I mean, in general, what kind of response is that? Well, governments have printed billions and trillions of dollars, depending on the size of their economies, across the Western world. It's okay because, well, we've all failed in terms of fiscal policy. All of the Western governments suck. Therefore, somehow that makes things better. And the way that he says this stuff, that's honestly one of the least offensive things that he's said over the last couple of weeks. The fact that they continue to say this garbage during one of the biggest economic crashes of my lifetime, honestly, at this point, it's just getting inappropriate. All markets have tanked even further after the Fed meeting that led to a 75 basis point hike, skyrocketing mortgage rates to over 6%, and just making life harder for businesses and corporations. People's 401ks are tanking beyond belief, and now the Atlanta Fed GDP Now prediction, which I covered a couple days ago that was at 2.5%, then went down to 0.9%, well, it just hit negative. Well, 0.0%, but their actual prediction is negative 0.002, meaning they are now predicting a negative GDP for the second quarter of 2022, which is probably going to go even lower, maybe to negative 1.5, negative 2, especially as market caps are tanking, investment is down, and it now costs more to borrow money. We are about to enter a recession, a global recession. But this utterly incompetent administration keeps telling us how good things are. You know, even Jerome Powell, who's a year late, and his response to inflation, they all keep telling us how the economy is actually really good. Even though home sales and mortgage applications are down an incredible amount over the last 2 months, retail sales are plummeting. Ford CFO is now flagging increase in car loan delinquencies. All of these major corporations are changing their growth predictions drastically, all in the wrong direction. But this incompetent buffoon of a president and this Fed chair, Jerome Powell, are telling us that the economy is strong, and Joe Biden keeps going on about jobs and jobs and jobs, as now we're even seeing mass layoffs in tech and real estate, with tens of thousands of layoffs in the tech world. And now Redfin and I believe Zillow as well, two massive real estate firms, are announcing big layoffs as well. It's a snowball, folks. It's rolling down the hill and it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. You may think things are okay right now. The economy is still running on the stimulus from the start of Joe Biden's term, but things are running out and it's about to get real bad and real red real fast. And all the meanwhile is the American people are asking for something. Maybe you know an American energy policy. Karine Jean-Pierre said this a couple days ago.
In the letter, the president said that he's prepared to use all reasonable and appropriate federal government tools and emergency authorities to increase refining capacity. What are those tools exactly that he has?
So, look, he is open to all reasonable uses of federal government's tools to increase output and lower cost at the pump, including emergency authorities like the Defense Production Act.
He is open to doing more to lower gas prices. Then the next day she says this.
Why not just drill more here in the U.S. though?
Because we don't need to do that.
Because we lack an energy policy.
Even Joe Biden, when his brain used to work, can admit that. But there's just nothing good coming out of this administration, and the people can see it. Nothing. From foreign policy, economic, fiscal policy, to even culture issues, the White House is losing on all fronts. I mean, for Pete's sakes, Joe Biden, Mr. the MAGA extreme political threat, still hasn't even condemned the violence and assassination attempt on Justice Kavanaugh. Weak, feckless, incompetent leadership. And it seems as though even the Democrats realize this as they now try to throw him under the bus. Joe Biden is the worst president in American history. I'm sure most of you at this point would rather Jimmy Carter.